My name's Scot Holloway. I'm with Bartec USA.
So Scott, tell me a little bit about the history of Bartec and where it got started and why it's come over to the United States.
Well, so Bartec USA, actually, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So we were formed in 2004, obviously. Our parent company, Bartec Auto ID, has been in TPMS and RFID technology, actually, for the better part of 30 years, originating in the UK. Some of our first TPMS work was done in Europe. When the TREAD Act sort of landed here in North America,
yes,
as a result of Firestone and Ford, we all remember that.
All too well for me.
The part of the solution, or the result of that, was direct TPMS on vehicles.
Yes.
Being able to monitor tire pressure and temperature actively in order to keep people in the car safe.
Right, and just to speak on that whole Firestone situation, I was a mechanic during that time, and the vivid memory I have is drilling out holes in the sidewall of those old Firestones just to make sure that nobody grabbed them.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the issue too, was some of the tires were beyond their service life date.
Yep,
sort of thing,
so in order to just make sure nobody got those tires again, we drilled those holes through them.
Well, as things often do, the government got a hold of the whole notion of how can we make sure passenger cars are safe.
Yep.
And the TREAD Act was created, and as a result, in 2008, from 2008 and forward,
yes,
every vehicle, light passenger car and truck, has to have a TPMS system on it, tire pressure monitoring system.
Right.
Whereby the minute there's a low pressure condition in one of your tires, you've got a display warning on your dashboard so that you could prevent something catastrophic from happening.
Yeah, that little yellow warning light that I described them a little short, where it looks like a tire with an exclamation point. That's
exactly
the one you're looking for.
Yep.
So tell me why you guys have chose SEMA as a place to display at, because to me it would make more sense to be at something like Apex, or maybe even somewhere that's more OE replacement friendly, I guess a word.
Well, for a long time actually, and this is our 19th SEMA, there was a number of years, I'd say maybe 10 of them, we did both.
Okay.
So yeah, and at Apex there's a tool and equipment section, and that's where we would be.
Right.
Here at SEMA, this is the Global Tire Expo.
Right.
So those years that we did both shows, it was okay at Apex, but it ultimately we generated more, for whatever reason, more traffic, more exposure, more interest over here.
Okay.
So we just, a number of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we just ultimately said, well, let's just focus here. We don't have to stretch the staff.
Right.
Focus on one show. And we get a lot of booth traffic. We get a lot of interest over here because this is the Global Tire Expo. So tire technicians, tire retailers are here.
Yep.
Everybody that's sort of in our industry. We're big supporters of the Tire Industry Association.
Right.
And they're the main sponsor for this.
Yes.
We usually participate in educational seminars relating to tire pressure monitors. So it just kind of always made sense to be here.
So Bartec actually got started in the UK.
Yes.
And they decided to come over to the US.
Yep.
And you've been with that since it came to the US, correct?
Almost. July of 2004 was when we were officially formed as a company. But prior to that, from about 2000 to 2004, Bartec Auto ID, the UK company, was partnered with a machine tool company.
Okay.
Because this is OE time, right?
Yes.
This is when we're fitting our line side antennas and tire line antennas at plants, OE assembly plants, because that's when the technology was just beginning to emerge. So that's where we got our start in the OE realm of things. So we work with all the OE sensors. We work with all the OE car manufacturers. So we kind of know how TPMS works, which is something we've been able to really draw on. We kind of call ourselves the trusted brand. Well, we are, because we've drawn on that knowledge over all these years, and it translates into really good support for our customers.
So having that line into the OEM, is that the reason why you're able to produce an OE quality and OE replacement for a Ford, a Chevy, a Dodge, or whatever?
100%, yeah. So we understand how the sensors work on that particular vehicle. As TPMS evolved, the service of the vehicle kind of evolved. Quickly, what everyone learned is that you had to have the proper tool to be able to not only work with the sensors, but then you had to connect to the car, like a scan tool, to complete the process, to finish the relearn. So that, if you look at our catalog, there's a lot in there that talks about, I like to call it our innovation timeline. One of the things that we've always prided ourselves on is more market first technology and innovation.
Right.
Because again, we're in the car plant. We saw way ahead of everybody else the need to do something like placard adjustment. So the way TPMS works is on the inside door jamb of the vehicle, there's a sticker that says this is a recommended tire inflation for that vehicle. And when the pressure falls below 75% of that number, that's when the light comes on.
Okay.
So imagine a truck where you had P-rated tires on an F-150, but you wanted 10 plies because you wanted to upsize a little bit, change the look. Well, a P-rated tire probably has a recommended inflation of 35.
Yes.
Well, that 10-ply tire is going to be 50.
Like,
So if you don't recalibrate the system, it's still going to think 35 is the number and give you the warning
at like 33, 32.
Exactly.
And
it's not, it really needs to be, higher than that.
Right. It needs to go like 40.
Yes. So we created a software on our tool to be able to allow the tool to reprogram that car when they upfit or plus size like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of a unique part of the market then, because a lot of people, I don't even think many tire shops think about that. That's when you upsize a tire,
it changes it changes how the system works. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. We never had to think of that before. Back in the day, you get a set of Craigers and slap on.
Throw them on.
Yeah, and who cares, right?
Right.
If it's got the same load carry capacity, it looks cool.
Right. So speaking of the aftermarket wheel, obviously, like the Shikansen van behind us here, it has. I don't believe those are factory-sized wheels.
They are not.
So how does your tool compensate for that? Whereas not the tire's not growing, but shrinking. Well,
it's again, lower profile tires tend to have even a higher pressure, in order to support the weight of the vehicle.
Right.
So in the event that we would call that a plus size, right?
Yes.
Because that's a 21-inch wheel. It's probably factory's probably 18.
Or 18 probably.
So the factory setting for the recommended inflation pressure is probably more like a 45 or even maybe 50 psi.
Right.
So that's how we would do that. Is allow for that adjustment.
Right. And you have enough TPMS designs to where even though that original Toyota TPMS sensor probably wouldn't fit in this wheel, you could have a sensor that would fit and would still work with a Toyota system.
Yes, yeah. So we've always been a tool business, right? That's where we got our start at the plants, at the OE dealership level, and then into the aftermarket. About 5 years ago, we made a key business decision, and that was to add a sensor to sort of our offering.
Right.
So the right sensor was born. We partnered with a manufacturer. They built a sensor to our specification, and because we've been tool people, we're process people.
Yeah.
How does the tool work around the vehicle for the technician, right? So we designed it so that it makes it very simple for the technician, so he can repeat it and make it easy and fast for him to do. So right sync is that process. So what that is, with a replacement programmable sensor, you have an extra step. You have to program the sensor to be a Sienna in this case, right?
Yes.
So whenever you put a new sensor, your former mechanic, right, worked in the shop, when you put a new sensor in, you had to program the car.
Right, you actually had to write down the serial number and actually program it into the computer.
To the car. So what RightSync does is it does all of that at the same time. So as you go around the vehicle and do the relearn, it's actually programming the sensor to be that vehicle.
Okay.
And what's even cooler than that is our tools are connected to the OBD.
Okay.
So instead of doing that make, model, year selection, I'm pulling it down from the OBD. Tool gets it right every time.
Okay.
So they can't make a programming mistake.
Right.
So it makes it way simpler, fewer steps, easier to repeat, easier to learn, right? Because we all know technicians are hard to come by, so they got to be able to pick this stuff up quick.
Right. Now, you've been handling this. Is this the tool you're talking about?
Nope, this is a new tool.
Okay.
This is a tread depth checker. We call it our tread right.
That's interesting.
Yep. So it's a pin gauge type tread check.
Okay.
You plunger, and it pairs up to either our tool or a special app that we developed for to grab the information off of the device.
Yeah.
And then you can print a report, hand it to the customer.
Okay.
Email it to them. However.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that because I was thinking, it's a tread depth gauge, so you really don't have to make it any more special than something that presses into it.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned that you can add that to your service report.
Exactly.
So that's actually a really killer app.
It is. It helps tire stores.
Yeah.
When you can show somebody in black and white, or in this case color, you print it out that you do in fact have some concern relative to tread. it helps make the case, right?
Yes.
So it helps drive up the sales conversion.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about the programmer you were mentioning a minute ago. So how does it actually work? Is it actually plugs into the OBD?
Yes.
But then how does the technician actually start setting the sensors for the vehicle?
So our Tech 600 Pro, which is our top of the line tool, it's a truly wireless tool.
Okay.
So it's wirelessly updated. It's wirelessly charged. It's pretty cool. We do use inductive charging, but the cool feature is the wireless connection to the car. The wireless VCI, vehicle connection interface.
Okay.
So what that allows is that, step one, you plug into the car. Now we have a process, we called it Vindicate. So we take the VIN, and from the VIN we can tell make, model, year.
Okay.
So again, instead of selecting, trying to figure it out by looking at the 10th digit on the VIN, what the model year is, because if you make a mistake there, it'll snowball, because when it comes time to doing the sensor or the relearn, if you don't have the right make, model, year, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to program correctly.
Correct.
It's like writing down the incorrect serial number. Suddenly, that vehicle is not going to see that sensor because the serial numbers are wrong.
Correct. Yeah. Now, the vehicle will take it.
Yeah.
But now now you're going to be in diagnostic mode to figure out, well, why is the light going on?
Right.
Because you messed up on that, right?
Exactly.
So again, we're process. Everything that we do with our tools and our parts is to make it easier to do, repeatable, so that, mistakes happen.
Right.
So you try to eliminate the opportunity for mistakes.
Right.
Which means fewer comebacks.
Yep.
Fewer customer complaints. Yep. And if you get to do it right the first time, you're making money.
Yep. I was going to say the old Ford adage: fix it right the first time, on time.
That's right. I got a sign hanging in our office. If you don't think you have the time to do it a second time, or if you don't have time to do it right the first time, what makes you think you have the time to do it twice?
Yeah, I've heard that saying before.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the enthusiast space, because there's always that shade tree mechanic that wants to be able to work on a TPMS sensor without having to go to their dealership or even go to a tire shop.
Right.
What does Bartec offer for them?
Well, we have a range of tools. So the 600 Pro is at the top end.
Right.
We have a Tech Right Pro at the bottom end. Doesn't have Wi-Fi, doesn't have all the features, but it has the ability to diagnose vehicles, program our sensors, do the relearns, so at a more of affordable price point. So when it goes to update it, you just hook it up to your laptop and do the update the old-fashioned way. Right.
So because most of these tools you guys have right now still appear to be based on a physical tool.
Yes.
Is there any plans to eventually go over to something where it's a Bluetooth connection and connecting to an app?
Yeah, that's on our radar, actually. TPMS, though, I will say, is a little bit different than other technologies. Right. Because the sensors, the way they work, they're activated by, an LF signal, low frequency, 125 kilohertz.
Yes.
Then once they're transmitting, then it's transmitting a UHF, 315 megahertz or 433 megahertz. Now there's some that are even Bluetooth.
Yes.
So even though you may be able to, on the app side of things, control the make, model, year, and the information that's germane to the vehicle, you're still going to need a handheld device that, we've got some ideas about that, but you still need to be able to activate the sensor and decode the sensor, even though you may have an app. Okay. So that's sort of on our radar in the future to have something like that. Okay. Yeah, because I know that's what a lot of enthusiasts are looking for right now. Is something you can load on your phone. Right, exactly. Yep. Because I know there's diagnostic tools right now, traditional OBD2. Yeah, with a little OBD2 dongle thing. Right, plug it in. Yeah. Yep. So let me ask you this. Actually, let's close it out. Tell me a little bit about how people can find Bartec and find your products. And do you sell directly to customers, or do you sell through stores? Yes. That's the answer. First of all, we have a website, bartecusa.com. We sell mainly through distribution. We do have some large end user accounts that we deal with on a direct basis, but for the most part, we sell through distribution. Most of our distributors service the wheel and tire industry. Right. So it's made up of wheel and tire supply, wheel and tire wholesalers. So it's a kind of a blend of that. We are in some of the traditional retailer tool programs and stuff like that, but not a lot. Most of it's in the specific to the like ATDs and stuff like that. Yes, absolutely, exactly. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Scott. Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you. I appreciate it.